In the fast-moving world of today, we often hear about lost generations, but none spark as much debate and cultural friction as the millennials born between 1980 and 1995. This specific group of human beings is currently caught in a unique and historical psychological trap that has never been seen before in human history. We are the last generation to remember the smell of library books and the sound of a dial-up modem, and we are the first to be completely consumed by the digital matrix of the 21st century. We have been unfairly labeled the Peter Pan generation because of a perceived refusal to grow up, and we have been called the Burnout generation for our endless and often exhausting hustle. But behind these superficial labels lies a much deeper and more complex psychological drama that defines the modern American experience. This is the story of why the most overeducated and tech-savvy generation feels the most disoriented and lost, yet holds a hidden power that is currently reshaping the very foundation of the global landscape. To truly understand the millennial psyche, we have to look back at an American childhood that was defined by an extreme and almost blinding optimism. We were raised on the idea of the American dream on steroids. Our parents and teachers told us every single day that we were special and that if we just followed the rules and went to expensive colleges, we could literally be anything we wanted to be. This constant reinforcement created a psychological phenomenon of hyperinflated expectations that would later collide with a brutal reality. But when we finally stepped into the adulthood of the late 2000s and the early 2010s, the global financial crisis hit like a freight train. The door to stability was slammed shut right in our faces. Student debt in the United States reached trillions of dollars, and the entry-level jobs we were promised suddenly required 5 years of experience for minimum wage. This massive gap between the promise of greatness and the reality of a side hustle economy created a deep sense of existential betrayal that still haunts the millennial mind today. We were the first generation to realize that the ladder of success had been pulled up just as we reached for the first rung. This led to a profound shift in the American timeline of adulthood. While our parents were buying homes and starting families in their early 20s, we were moving back into our childhood bedrooms with master's degrees and no health insurance. This delayed start created a psychological state of feeling perpetually behind, as if we were playing a game where the rules were changed in the middle of the match. A massive part of this trauma is what we call the digital bridge. We are a liminal generation existing in the space between two worlds. We remember the analog world where you had to wait for things, and where boredom was a natural state of being. Now we spend our entire adulthood governed by invisible algorithms that demand our attention every second of the day. This rapid transition created a cognitive dissonance that is unique to our age group. Our brains were originally wired for a slower world, but we are forced to function in a high-speed digital feedback loop that never sleeps. This has led to what psychologists call the comparison trap on a global scale. In the United States, social media turned our private social lives into a public performance. We are constantly measuring our messy internal behind-the-scenes footage against everyone else's curated and filtered highlight reel. Seeing a peer buy a luxury home or get a major promotion on Instagram triggers a subconscious punishment in our own minds. We feel constantly behind, even when we are working harder and longer hours than any generation that came before us. This leads to a state of permanent decision paralysis. When you have infinite choices on your screen but limited resources in your bank account, you often choose to freeze in place rather than move forward. The phenomenon of the side hustle culture has also taken a massive toll on the millennial mental health. We were told that we needed to monetize our hobbies and turn every waking hour into a profit center. If you were good at photography, you needed a studio. If you liked to drive, you needed to be an Uber driver. This turned our leisure time into a marketplace and destroyed the concept of rest. In the American psyche, your value became tied to your productivity, and this created a generation that feels guilty whenever they are not working. This is the root of the burnout epidemic. It is not that millennials are lazy. It is that they are exhausted from running a race that has no finish line. We are trying to solve 20th century problems with 21st century tools while using 19th century expectations of labor. However, this feeling of being lost is not a sign of failure, but actually a source of incredible, latent power. American millennials were the first to mass produce a cultural shift toward the importance of mental health and emotional intelligence. We are the ones who broke the long silence on burnout and clinical anxiety. What our parents' generation often called being lazy, we recognized as a legitimate physiological response to a broken and exploitative system. We are the generation that stopped accepting toxic work cultures and 90-hour work weeks as a badge of honor or a sign of character. We are moving away from the old American definition of success, which was tied strictly to material ownership, and moving toward a definition based on personal freedom and social impact. We would much rather have a remote job that allows us to travel or spend time with our families than a corner office in a cold skyscraper. Psychologists note that millennials have developed a very high level of adaptability because we had to survive the total collapse of the old economy. We are the absolute masters of the pivot. We are the most entrepreneurial generation in American history, not always by choice, but by necessity. We created the creator economy and the gig economy from scratch. This adaptability is our greatest superpower. We are no longer defined by a single career for 40 years. A millennial might be a corporate lawyer at 30 and a digital artist or a yoga instructor at 35. This is not a sign of instability, but a sign of incredible neuroplasticity. We are hacking a system that was never designed for our well-being, and in doing so, we are making the world more human and more empathetic. In the United States, millennials are now the largest living adult generation, and we hold the keys to the future of both the economy and the culture. We are building a world based on authenticity over authority. We value transparency and social responsibility above all else. We are the essential bridge between the grit of the baby boomers and the digital native energy of Generation Z. We took the best of the analog world as work ethic and combined it with the digital world as technological efficiency. Our feeling of being lost is actually a massive recalibration of the human spirit. We are unlearning the outdated and dusty maps of the 20th century so that we can navigate the chaos of the 21st century. We must also look at the psychological concept of the quarter-life crisis, which has become a defining milestone for the millennial experience. Unlike the midlife crisis of our parents, which was about regaining lost youth, the quarter-life crisis is about the terrifying realization that the life we were told to build does not actually exist. This crisis forces us to confront the shadow self and ask, what do I actually want when the cameras are off and the likes stop rolling? This internal questioning is what makes us powerful because it leads to a life of intention rather than a life of imitation. We are the generation that is deconstructing marriage, the housing market, and the traditional corporate ladder, not because we want to destroy them, but because we want to rebuild them in a way that actually works for human beings. We are moving from a culture of having to a culture of being. This shift is painful and it feels like being lost because there is no roadmap for it. The unique position of the millennial is that of the system's architect. We grew up watching the old systems fail in real time. We saw the dot-com bubble burst, we saw the housing market crash, and we saw the traditional news media lose its monopoly on truth. This has given us a healthy skepticism of authority and a deep desire for decentralization. We are building new networks and new ways of connecting that are not dependent on old gatekeepers. This is the silent revolution of our generation. We are moving away from top-down control and toward peer-to-peer collaboration. This is evident in everything from the way we work to the way we consume media and even the way we invest our money. As we move forward, we are creating a new social contract that prioritizes well-being over wealth and connection over consumption. The weight of the world is heavy, but the millennial shoulders are stronger than they realize. We have survived multiple once-in-a-lifetime economic collapses and a global pandemic, all while trying to pay off student loans that feel like a life sentence. Yet we still show up. We still create. We still hope. This resilience is the true heart of our generation. We are the bridge, and the bridge must be strong. We are the generation that is redefining what it means to be a successful adult in a world that is constantly changing. We have learned that stability is not found in a job title or a bank account, but in our ability to learn and unlearn and relearn. If you feel like you are struggling to find your place in this loud and confusing world, remember that you are an explorer of a new frontier. Your anxiety is just a signal that the old ways of living no longer serve the modern human soul. You are building your own path through the woods. You have the unique skills to survive the digital noise because you know how to filter it. You value depth in a shallow world, and that makes you dangerous to the status quo. You are not a lost generation. You are a generation that is finding a way to live with purpose in a world that only ever offered us profit. The map of the world is being redrawn right now, and you are the ones holding the pen. In the end, the legacy of the millennial generation will not be defined by what we owned, but by what we changed. We are the generation that forced the world to care about mental health. We are the generation that demanded work-life balance. We are the generation that used technology to give a voice to the voiceless. We are the ones who refuse to accept that things have to be the way they have always been. Our feeling of being lost is simply the feeling of walking through a fog before the sun comes up. And the sun is coming up. We are beginning to see the fruits of our struggle. Companies are changing because of us. Culture is shifting because of us. The world is becoming more conscious because of us. So if you are a millennial listening to this and you feel that familiar weight of being lost in your own life, take a deep breath. You are exactly where you need to be. You are part of a global movement of souls who are refusing to settle for a life that is small and hollow. You are powerful because you are conscious. You are lost because you are looking for something better than what was given to you. And in that search, you are finding the future for everyone who comes after us. You are the pioneers of a new way of being human. Trust the process and keep walking forward. The light is closer than you think.